In 1964, a 17-year-old high school student named Randy Gardner decided to break a world record. He was going to stay awake for 11 days straight. By day 4, he couldn't remember his own name. By day 6, he was hallucinating a street sign as a person. And by day 11, scientists genuinely feared he might not make it back. So what actually happens to your body and your mind when you refuse to sleep? Today, we're going to find out. Second by second, day by day. And I promise, by the end of this video, you will never take a single night of sleep for granted again. The first 24 hours feel surprisingly manageable. That's the dangerous part. Your brain releases a chemical called adenosine throughout the day. Think of it as a sleep pressure gauge. The longer you're awake, the more it builds. By evening, that pressure becomes overwhelming. Your body is screaming for rest, but you ignore it. And something sinister quietly begins. After just 17 hours without sleep, your cognitive performance drops to the equivalent of a blood alcohol level of 0.05%. After 20 hours? That's legally drunk in most countries. And here's the terrifying part. You don't feel impaired. Your brain is actively deceiving you, telling you you're fine. You can keep going. This is called sleep drunk, and it's why sleep-deprived driving kills as many people as drunk driving. By day 2, something strange happens. Your brain can no longer wait for sleep, so it steals it. Scientists call it microsleep. Without warning, portions of your brain flicker offline for 3 to 15 seconds at a time. You're technically awake, but parts of your mind are completely unconscious. Imagine driving a car and blacking out for 10 seconds every few minutes. That's your brain on day 2. But day 3 is when it gets truly surreal. Randy Gardner saw a road sign and became convinced it was a person standing in front of him. He walked toward it to apologize for bumping into it. This isn't weakness. This is your brain's visual cortex, desperate for REM sleep, beginning to fire dream imagery into your waking consciousness. You begin to live in two worlds simultaneously, reality and the dream world, and you can no longer tell which is which. Your immune system doesn't just weaken, it collapses. Studies show that after 4 days without sleep, your natural killer cells, the frontline soldiers that hunt cancer cells and viruses, drop in activity by over 70%. Your body begins producing cortisol, the stress hormone, in massive quantities. This triggers inflammation throughout every organ. Your heart rate becomes erratic. Blood pressure spikes, and then comes the pain. Real physical pain. Joints ache, eyes burn, skin becomes hypersensitive to touch. Your body is sending emergency signals, and nobody is home to receive them. Meanwhile, your brain's prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making, emotional regulation, and keeping you from doing catastrophically stupid things, has essentially gone offline. You become impulsive, paranoid, emotionally unhinged. People around you begin to genuinely fear for your safety. By day 6, Randy Gardner could no longer complete a sentence. He would start a thought and simply forget what he was saying mid-word. His brain was no longer capable of forming short-term memories. Each moment existed in isolation, disconnected from what came before. But the most disturbing experiments didn't involve humans at all. In a landmark study, rats were kept awake indefinitely. Within 2 weeks, every single one was dead. The cause of death? Scientists still don't fully understand it. Their bodies hadn't failed from starvation or disease or organ damage alone. It was as if the absence of sleep itself had become lethal, a kind of biological unraveling that no treatment could stop. The working theory? Sleep is when your glymphatic system, your brain's waste disposal system, flushes out toxic proteins. Without sleep, those proteins accumulate. They poison you from the inside, slowly inevitably. So why does sleep exist at all? For centuries, scientists thought it was just rest, your body powering down like a computer. We now know that's completely wrong. Sleep is when your brain literally cleans itself. During deep sleep, the space between your neurons expands by up to 60%, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flush through and wash away toxic waste products, including amyloid beta, the protein linked to Alzheimer's disease. Sleep is when your immune system files its battle reports and builds antibodies. Sleep is when your brain consolidates memories, moving experiences from short-term to long-term storage. Sleep is when human growth hormone is released, rebuilding muscle, bone, and cellular damage from the day. In short, sleep is not the absence of life. Sleep is maintenance. And without maintenance, every system eventually breaks down. What happened to Randy Gardner? Randy Gardner finally slept on January 8, 1964. He had been awake for 264 hours and 24 minutes. He slept for 14 hours and 40 minutes, and woke up almost completely recovered. But here's what scientists later discovered. The recovery wasn't perfect. Follow-up studies on people who voluntarily sleep-deprive themselves show subtle but lasting changes in neural efficiency. The brain adapts, but not fully. Every hour of lost sleep leaves a fingerprint. So the next time you tell yourself you'll sleep when you're dead, understand this. Chronic sleep deprivation is one of the most reliable ways to make that happen sooner. Sleep isn't a luxury. It isn't laziness. It is the single most important biological function your body performs every single day. Randy Gardner knew that, the hard way. Now you do too. You just survived 7 days inside the most dangerous experiment your brain will ever face, at least inside your mind. But the questions we explored today, they're just the beginning. Every week on What If Experiments, we follow the questions that sound impossible, absurd, or just a little terrifying, and we go wherever the science leads. So if your mind never quite accepts just because as an answer, hit subscribe to What If Experiments right now. Because the next question we're about to explore might just change the way you see everything. We'll see you in the next experiment.